the Paul Malayans and all that. If we had a bad time, they had a shocking time. They had no organisation. They had no one to lead them, no one to help them, and they died in their tens of thousands.
At this place, the work was amongst the hardest of the entire project. During what the Japanese termed the Speedo period, from working day was the most brutal place, and its death toll can never be accurately known.
When things were really hot towards the end there, when they were pushing that railway very hard, I think I used to start sick prayer at about 4 in the morning, and then we'd come up and get up to about 10 the night before, and then we had to go and see these guys in the dark, and try and pick out who was fit to go and work, and they were all good.
Work gangs were labouring here in daylight and in darkness, when bamboo flares and lamps lit the site. And that is what suggested to someone the name that has stuck to Conyu cutting, Hellfire Pass.
When we look at Hellfire Pass, biggest percentage of the time there we lived on rice and what we call stinkfish. It was dried fish. And there was more bones than there was fish, sort of thing. But you just put up with it, sort of. It was not much you could do.
Work here started in November 1942 with British prisoners and Tamil labourers. The first Australians arrived sometime around April 25th, 1943. April 25th is the day that Australia remembers her war dead, Anzac Day. The day on which the Australian troops first went into action in the First World War. Those who worked at this place suffered at the hands of their guards. All were beaten, many severely. Some with permanent effect, some were killed. But the death toll at this place and along the railway tells us more about the conditions in which the men lived and worked, the inadequate diet and the presence of disease. Dysentery, malaria, tropical ulcers, and above all, cholera took a fearful toll. 30% of Australians held prisoner by the Japanese died in captivity.
No chap that was there died on his own. He always had somebody beside him. You talk to him, you do everything you could for him, even though you knew you couldn't do any more for him, but you talk to try and comfort him and everything like that. You'll be right, mate, don't worry about it, you'll be right, you know. Most probably they knew themselves they weren't going to be right. But you know, we'll be doing this, we'll be doing that when we go home.
Most of the work done at this place was done with hand tools. Hellfire Pass was cut and blasted through the solid rock by men with hammers and spikes. 2-man teams, one with the heavy hammer, the other rotating the metal drill in the rock until a hole large enough to contain a dynamite charge had been gouged out.
Razor let the hammer do the work, and I would swing the hammer most of the day, and Harry would use the skill of getting it through the rock. You would also say, Tom, don't rush yourself, take your time, play it easy. We'll get dark. It's a mining term. That was the contract you had to do, and then you could go back.
And the work they did at this place, day and night, was often in the worst possible conditions. The men had to walk to the work site, perhaps several steep kilometres from their camp. And in the wet season, for months, that was dangerous and it was unhealthy.
It rained for over 100 days. And the place was awash.
The clothes in which the prisoners were captured soon rotted, and their boots fell apart.
I was about 150 days without boots, just getting around on bare feet.
Mainly barefoot and with improvised